Charisma is one of those traits most people think you're either born with or without. They imagine loud personalities, confident speakers, and people who command attention the second they walk into a room. But for Sigma males, charisma looks different, quieter, slower, deeper. And most of the time it goes unnoticed. Even by the Sigma himself. You might not realize it, but if you move through life with intention, self-control, and quiet confidence, you're already showing signs of charisma. You may not be the loudest voice in the room. You may not be the one telling the jokes or taking over conversations. But people notice you. They feel your presence. They remember you, not for what you said, but for how you made them feel when you were around. That's Sigma male charisma. It's not about performance. It's about power that doesn't need to be performed. It's the kind of presence that doesn't beg for attention, but still commands respect. And the truth is, it's made up of different forms, different layers that reveal themselves in certain situations. You might have one type more than another, or you might carry all of them without even realizing it. What makes this charisma powerful is that it doesn't fade when the spotlight turns off. It's not tied to energy or hype. It's rooted in who you are. And that's what makes it so magnetic. People can sense when someone is real, when someone has something steady beneath the surface. That's what pulls them in. That's what creates connection, even when very few words are spoken. So if you've ever wondered why people watch you even when you're not trying, or why people come to you for advice even though you don't offer it first, or why people seem to listen more closely when you finally do speak, this might be why. There are forms of charisma that don't rely on charm, good looks, or even high energy. They rely on stillness, on self-awareness, on quiet intensity. And Sigma males tend to have more of it than they know. This video breaks down 6 specific types of charisma you may already carry, and explains why they matter more than most people think. If you've ever felt misunderstood, overlooked, or underestimated, you're not alone. But chances are, the charisma you think you lack is already working in your favor. You just haven't seen it clearly yet. Type of charisma 1. Silent presence, charisma. The first type of charisma is the kind that doesn't even require words. It's not about what you say, it's about how you carry yourself when you say nothing. This is the silent presence of the Sigma male, and it's one of the most powerful forms of influence a man can have. Most people fill silence with noise. They fidget, over-explain, or talk just to fill space. But the Sigma doesn't do that. He's comfortable in silence. He owns it. When he walks into a room, he doesn't need to be seen. He already is. People feel his presence before they even hear his voice. It's in the way he stands, how he moves, how his eyes track what's happening around him. It's the steady, grounded energy that tells people this man knows who he is. He doesn't need to announce it. He doesn't need to prove it. He just is. This kind of charisma pulls attention without effort. It makes people curious. They start watching more closely. They wonder what he's thinking. They notice the calm. And in a world that moves fast, where people are constantly chasing attention, that calm becomes magnetic. Silent presence also makes everything he does carry more weight. When he does speak, people lean in. When he does move, it feels deliberate. That's because his stillness creates contrast. In a loud world, stillness stands out. This charisma often shows up in high-stakes environments. In a meeting, the Sigma might say very little, but his body language makes it clear he's not distracted. In social settings, he might stay on the edges, but people feel drawn to him. In relationships, he offers a kind of stability that people crave, especially when everyone else feels reactive. It's not just what he's doing, it's what he's not doing. He's not trying to perform. He's not trying to dominate. He's not trying to impress. That lack of need becomes power. And others feel it. Silent presence isn't about being shy or antisocial. It's about being grounded. And for the Sigma male, it often shows up naturally. The key is realizing that this quiet stillness is not a lack of charisma. It's the foundation of it. Once you become aware of that, you can start using it intentionally. Type of charisma 2, intellectual, idea charisma. The second type of charisma the Sigma male often carries is intellectual charisma, or what some people call idea charisma. This is the ability to influence and attract others not with volume, but with insight. It's the kind of presence that forms when a man speaks from a place of deep thought, clarity, and conviction. Sigma males spend a lot of time in their heads. They think through situations before they act. They ask questions most people don't even consider. And because of that, when they do speak, it often cuts deeper than expected. It's not small talk. It's not chatter. It's content. This form of charisma doesn't require academic intelligence. It's not about having a fancy vocabulary or a perfect education. It's about having ideas that matter, thoughts that challenge people, perspectives that open minds, and the ability to express them clearly when the time comes. That expression doesn't have to be long. Sometimes it's a short sentence in a conversation that shifts the entire room. Sometimes it's a quiet observation that no one else made. People turn to look, not because it was loud, but because it was true. What makes this charisma so powerful is that it doesn't beg for attention. It earns it. When the Sigma male speaks from insight, others feel it. They sense the thinking behind the words. They trust the tone, the simplicity, the clarity. And that trust builds influence, even in silence. Idea charisma is especially strong in one-on-one conversations or small groups. That's where the Sigma shines. He doesn't dominate the room, but when someone is paying attention, his thoughts often stick. They leave an impression. And days later, people remember what he said, even if he only said it once. This form of charisma also applies to action. When the Sigma male builds something, creates something, or makes a decision based on original thought, it speaks for him. His ideas take shape in real life, and that makes people watch even more closely. Intellectual charisma doesn't demand that you be the smartest man in the room. It demands that you be thoughtful, curious, and real. It asks that you think before you speak, and speak only when it counts. For the Sigma male, this comes naturally. But once he becomes aware of it, he can sharpen it even further, and that makes his presence impossible to ignore. Type of charisma 3, mystery and ambiguity. Charisma. There's something powerful about not being fully understood. In a world that rewards oversharing, constant posting, and being available all the time, the Sigma male stands out by doing the opposite. He keeps people guessing. He shares just enough to stay real, but not enough to be predictable. That creates mystery. And mystery is a powerful form of charisma. Mystery draws people in because the human mind hates gaps. When someone is open about everything, people feel satisfied, and they move on. But when someone holds back, stays a little unpredictable and doesn't reveal everything right away, curiosity grows. People wonder who he really is, what he's thinking, and what's behind the silence. This is not about being manipulative or playing games. It's about being selective. It's about choosing when and how to show parts of yourself based on trust and timing. And Sigma males do this naturally. They don't reveal their entire personality in one conversation. They don't wear their heart on their sleeve. And that restraint makes people want to understand them more. This type of charisma often shows up in quiet behavior. Maybe it's the way the Sigma observes but doesn't interrupt. Maybe it's the way he smiles at something no one else noticed. Maybe it's the way he disappears for a while, then returns with more strength. These small behaviors create an aura of unpredictability that people find fascinating. There's also a sense of emotional privacy that adds to the mystery. The Sigma male doesn't break down in front of everyone. He doesn't explain himself when others would. And because he doesn't react to everything, people can't read him easily. That unreadability becomes part of his charm. Mystery makes people want to know more. They lean in. They ask questions. They try to get closer. And while the Sigma doesn't always let them in right away, the curiosity itself keeps people connected to his energy. In relationships, this kind of charisma creates deep attraction. In leadership, it creates respect. In social settings, it creates interest. The less he reveals, the more people want to know. And that space between what is seen and what is hidden, that's where the charisma lives. Type of charisma: slight rebellion and authenticity. Charisma doesn't always come from blending in. In many cases, it comes from the exact opposite, standing out in a way that feels completely real. The Sigma male carries a kind of rebellious charisma. Not the loud kind, not the reckless kind, but the quiet confidence of someone who refuses to follow what doesn't feel true. He doesn't wear the trends. He doesn't repeat the talking points. He doesn't shape himself to fit the crowd. And that rejection of the norm makes people watch. It sends a message without needing to be explained. I'm not here to please. I'm here to live honestly. This authenticity becomes magnetic, because most people are used to masks. They're used to people adjusting their behavior based on who's watching. But the Sigma doesn't do that. He stays consistent, even if it makes him harder to understand. And that consistency builds trust, even among those who don't fully agree with him. This rebellious charisma shows up in small decisions. The Sigma might leave a high-status group to walk his own path. He might reject a comfortable opportunity because it doesn't align with his values. He might speak up when silence is expected, or stay silent when everyone else is performing. Each of these choices shows independence, and independence draws people in. People respect a man who can stand alone. It suggests strength. It suggests direction. And most importantly, it suggests he's not for sale. That sense of inner direction makes him unpredictable, but trustworthy. People may not always know what he'll do, but they know he's not faking it. This form of charisma doesn't try to dominate. It doesn't try to convert people or prove a point. It just exists. And over time, that quiet rebellion becomes a beacon. Others who feel the same way, those who are tired of fake energy and empty approval, begin to find him. And when they do, that connection is strong. Authenticity is rare, especially when it goes against the grain. But for the Sigma male, it's not an act, it's a lifestyle. And that lifestyle carries a natural force that people can't help but respect. Type of charisma: 5. Compassionate strength. Charisma. The next form of Sigma male charisma comes from an unexpected mix: compassion and strength. Most people separate the two. They believe you're either kind or powerful, gentle or bold. But the Sigma often holds both in the same space. And when he does, it creates a kind of influence that cuts deeper than dominance ever could. People are drawn to strength, but they stay for compassion. The Sigma male may seem distant at first, but over time, people begin to notice his awareness. He pays attention to how people are feeling, even if he doesn't always say it out loud. He remembers the things others forget. He shows up when it counts, not with words but with actions. This quiet support makes people feel safe. Not because he's soft, but because he's strong enough to care without needing attention for it. He doesn't parade his good intentions. He just moves with quiet loyalty and presence. That makes people trust him. And trust is the core of real charisma. His compassion doesn't mean weakness. In fact, it's backed by clear boundaries. He knows when to step in and when to step back. He offers help without controlling. He offers presence without pressure. And because he's not trying to be liked, his kindness feels more real. This charisma shows up in serious moments. When someone's going through something difficult, the Sigma male might not say much, but his presence speaks. When conflict arises, he doesn't escalate it. He brings calm. When someone is being mistreated, he may step in, not loudly, but directly. It's that calm mix of empathy and power that makes this form of charisma stand out. He's not overbearing. He's not soft. He's quietly solid. And that solid presence becomes something people respect, rely on, and feel drawn to over time. This kind of influence isn't about being the center of attention. It's about being the kind of person others feel better around, even if they can't explain why. For the Sigma male, this strength through care comes naturally. And when it's recognized, it becomes one of his most enduring traits. Type of charisma. 6. Action-outcome charisma. The last form of charisma is one of the most respected in any environment. Charisma that comes from action. This is the kind of influence a man builds by consistently doing what he says, following through, and delivering results. For the Sigma male, this is a natural way of life. He doesn't talk just to sound smart. He speaks when he means it. And when he makes a decision, he follows it through. While others may talk about their goals or image, the Sigma male is already in motion. He works in silence. He builds in private. And when the results appear, there's no need for a speech. They speak for him. That's what creates this final form of charisma. People start to associate him with progress, with solutions, with trust. This type of charisma doesn't always get attention right away, but over time it becomes undeniable. The Sigma male doesn't need to promote himself constantly. His work, his consistency, and his personal evolution do the talking for him. And people begin to rely on him, not because he demands it, but because he earns it. The most powerful part of action-outcome charisma is that it can't be faked. You can pretend to be charming. You can copy someone's words. But you can't fake being consistent. You can't fake results. That's why this form of charisma builds slow, but lasts long. People notice when someone says little, but always delivers. They trust that person more than the one who makes noise but never finishes anything. The Sigma male, with his focus on privacy and integrity, often becomes that man. And that reputation stays with him long after the conversation ends. This form of charisma makes him a leader, even when he doesn't try to be. It makes people ask for his opinion, follow his lead, or include him in plans, not because he asked for a role, but because they trust he'll bring value without distraction. And in a world full of talkers, the man who acts consistently becomes unforgettable. Charisma doesn't always shout. It doesn't always sparkle. And it doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes the most powerful form of influence lives in the quietest person in the room. The one who listens before he speaks. The one who observes more than he reacts. The one who walks his own path, even when no one is watching. That's the charisma of the Sigma male. You may have been told you're too quiet, too distant, too independent. But the truth is, those very traits may be the reason people respect you, trust you, or remember you. Charisma isn't about being loud, it's about being solid, being sure, being real. And every trait we've covered in this video is already within reach. Whether you lead through silence, ideas, mystery, authenticity, compassion, or action, you carry something that most people can't imitate. And the more aware you become of those traits, the more naturally your presence will grow. You don't have to change who you are to be charismatic. You have to understand who you are and lean into it. So ask yourself, which type of charisma already lives in you? Which one shows up when you're most grounded, most focused, most alive? And which one are you ready to strengthen even more? The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more men who know who they are and don't need to prove it. That's real charisma. And chances are, you've had it all along.